Hello, this is the Hello Nigeria shore. Hello Nigeria shore. Don't you dare touch the dial. Hello Nigeria. Hello Nigeria shore. Don't you dare touch the dial. Don't you dare touch the dial. 'Cause it's Hello Nigeria. Hello Nigeria.
Welcome back to Hello Nigeria. It's time for our top story, and we're having a very fantastic conversation, which already started before we came back. Now, according to a report by the World Economic Forum, the gender gap report stated that it will take 200 years for us to bridge the gap between men and women. Now, today on the show, we're talking about gender disparity and feminism. The conversation has been sparked online with people like Chimamanda Adichie leading the forefront in the campaign for feminism. Now today, joining us on the round table, we have actor, celebrated actor, TV host, and producer Adeolu Adefarasin joining us. Thank you so much for joining us.
How you doing?
Thanks
It's
for
good
being
to have
here.
you.
Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you too. So I think the first question on this show is, who is a feminist amongst all of us? So Chimamanda Adichie wrote a book, and the book was We Should All Be Feminists. I listened to her TED Talk, We Should All Be Feminists, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So which of us is a feminist?
At the end of the day, I think if you're not a feminist, you're a sexist. So that's my take. I'm definitely a feminist.
So I used to say that I was a feminist, but recently I'm starting to think that with the way feminism is being presented, maybe I'm not so much a feminist as I thought I was, because I'm beginning to think that we're distracting from what the actual definition of feminism is. We're going overboard with it. And if this new definition of feminism is really the definition of feminism, then maybe I'm not one.
I don't know. I feel like this whole titles thing puts a lot of pressure on defining things in ways that are just more than they should be. Like, I don't think I would never have gone out of the band and said, oh, I'm a feminist, but at the same time, I definitely don't think I'm a sexist. So if you have to put a title on it, then I guess I'm a feminist because I believe in equality, but I don't go out there and I don't, I guess shout it out.
Okay.
I don't do the normal. So feminist, sexist. Since we're doing titles now, I'm a woman being.
Yeah, human.
Yes, simple.
Which is the truth, though.
Yeah.
People, they asked, so yesterday, Chimamanda had a conversation with Trevor Noah, and the conversation went viral. And they asked her, why would you say feminist as opposed to humanist? Why don't you just say, or she said people ask her that question, why don't you just say humanist? And she says, because women have been relegated to the sideline for the longest time. And she's trying to put that conversation forward, which leads us to the question of what really is feminism?
Okay, at the end of the day, I think the issue that we're seeing today with feminism that's pushing a lot of people like yourself away from the definition of feminism is the fact that so many negative connotations have been attached to feminism that have led people astray. At the end of the day, feminism has never said we are all equal human beings. There is no equality in society, from poverty to gender, to anything that we want to speak about. There is no such thing as equality. It does not exist. It's a fallacy. And feminism says we need the equality of opportunity in society. If Adeolu as a man can go out and get a job and I have the same qualifications and I have applied for that same job, I should be entitled to the same opportunity that he has been given, and I shouldn't be like sidelined for that because I'm a woman. That is what feminism says. Now, when you let the negative connotations cloud your judgment and you start to question whether you're a feminist or not, you're letting the wrongs overtake what's right.
Very
and that is
true.
the issue that we are seeing. That is why I will never stop saying I'm a feminist. That is why I'll continue to preach it. Because if not enough people stand up and continue to preach for what is right and what feminism actually is, especially as a study of international relations today, then we are going to see feminism disappearing. We are going to see patriarchy rising. We are going to see misogyny rising. And all these things are going to come back. At the end of the day, society and history repeats itself. And we have the opportunity to actually stop that and ensure that society, in terms of gender bias and in terms of women being sidelined, does not repeat itself.
So I look at the definition real quick of feminism on Wikipedia. I found it really interesting. It says, feminism is a range of political movements, ideologies, and social movements that share a common goal, which is to define, establish, and achieve political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. This includes seeking to establish educational and professional opportunities for women that are equal to those for men. Now, we find that oftentimes what happens is this new conversation of feminism is moving beyond what I thought feminism was about. So for me, I would have said feminism was about creating opportunities for men. So if Chukwudi and I are hosting a show together, Chukwudi should not be paid more than I'm paid simply because he's a man and they think I'm a woman. So, and there's still situations where women still do not earn enough. Remember in Nollywood recently, there was a protest in that regard, even on the red carpet, which seemed that male actors were earning far much more than female actors were. For me, create opportunities for women, equal participation, like what's happened with France and Macron and how he's involved, involve women. Don't say, oh, we have a society that doesn't allow women run in politics as much as they should, or a society that doesn't support. Unfortunately, it will be a while before we would have a female president. I'm really sad to see that happening.
I think what we must do is first, if we all decide to look at issues first from the human angle, that's the only way we can solve these issues. Because if we all admit that, whether you like it or not, there's some sort of inequality in the system, whether it's politics, whether it's economics, whether it's, social or the rest of them, then we must begin to address all these ills, whether you like it or not. There are societies where, because of the fact that certain people are in disadvantageous positions, people go through a lot. I mean, I grew up reading about the Philippines, and somebody I would never forget, who used to be a leader and played a very integral role in the development of modern Philippines was Gloria Arroyo, and she was a human. And if you look at these societies, women take the fore and play a very critical role. We spoke about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who won the Mo Ibrahim Prize, that even a lot of African leaders who we say they are strong men have not been able to win. So I think that sometimes when we begin to argue, that's why I always say when people throw the word equality, let's just say equity. As a father, I would give the very best of life to my children. I see them as my children first, not male child, female child, preferential treatment for this because this person is considered to be soft or the likes. We admit that there are challenges in our society and we must deal with them. But I think we must always come from the angle of human first. And when we always talk about opportunity, it's looking like you want people to give you something on a platter. Nobody will. I always say it. Nelson Mandela went to prison for 27 years because somebody had to. And his wife or his ex-wife, who is late now, took the bull by the horns. And in fact, when he returned from prison, he just could not believe the kind of person that she had become. But if you look at South African history today, at least the modern history of South Africa, you must always mention Winnie Mandela.
All right.
Whether we like it or not, we must understand that these issues live with us as a people if we want to deal with these issues collectively as humans, whether you like it or not.
All right, so Adeolu, real quick, let's look at the areas in which feminism has been misrepresented from your perspective, from where you're standing.
I think honestly, the way I think about these things, I think that when it comes to all of these movements, people are at a disadvantage once you start a movement. In social media age, it starts to look a lot like people are just complaining. And that's the problem with it. It's not that it's not right. It's not that we're not fighting for values that people deserve or rights that people deserve. But once you start creating these movements, often it starts to look like certain people are complaining. I think we need to get to a place. I actually think things work differently. I'm in a situation where I've created stuff that focuses on men, not because I think that anyone is better than the other, but I think there's been a lot of focus actually trained towards women. So feminists, a lot of this stuff is going on because women are actually qualified. Men, I think, get positions of power because they get given opportunities that maybe they haven't earned, but they also need to be trained for those positions. And if men are trained and educated, then it would create opportunities for women as well. Because when men get into positions that they get, not because they necessarily deserved it, if they've been taught certain values or morals and beliefs on how to look at women and how to treat women in terms of saying that, look, I'm your equal. If you deserve something more than I do, then you get a promotion. So I think we actually need to start looking at the roles of both sexes in uplifting one another.
You see, all right, so let's quickly talk about, let's go straight to this Chimamanda's video that we have down. First of all, we're going to bring feminism, before we wrap up this conversation, we're going to bring feminism back to the home front, which is what they're doing, which is what I'm not too much of a fan of. We're looking at roles of gender as opposed to what really feminism is. So Chimamanda Adichie had a conversation with Trevor Noah where she spoke about opening of doors, and I won't talk about it, just take a look.
I think gestures like holding the door shouldn't be gendered. I think it's a lovely thing to hold the door, but we should hold the door for everyone.
Right.
Right, I hold the door for men and women. And so I think the idea of sort of holding the door for a woman because she's a woman, I have trouble with it. I'm quite happy for people to hold the door for me, but I hope they're not doing it because of this sort of idea of chivalry. Because chivalry is really about the idea that women are somehow weak
Right.
And need protecting. But we know that really there are many women who are stronger than many men.
Right.
So really what I think is that the people we should protect are people who need protecting, whether men or women. Which is also why I sort of have trouble with the idea of women and children. When women are classified in the same, when there's a tragedy and we say women and children should leave first. I think actually it's the people who are weak, unwell, young.
Wow, that's interesting.
Who should leave first, yeah.
Wow, this is like a more eloquent argument of what some of the guys on the Titanic said.
And that is the conversation between Chimamanda Adichie and Trevor Noah. What's your reaction to that?
Man, I don't know where to start with some of this stuff. I mean, I fully believe, I kind of feel like it's going over the top. In terms of opening the door for women, you do it because I think it's the right thing to do. I guess you get brought up a certain way, and I would also open the door. If someone was behind me, whoever's behind me, I'll leave the door open because it's kind of rude to shut the door in your face, right? And also in terms of this aspect when it comes to letting women and children, I understand what she's trying to get at. At the same time, would you be in a situation that's an emergency or you'd rather say, oh no, let me just sit down and wait for you to leave as a guy and put myself at risk? I just think that it's the right thing to do to want to let a woman go first.
All right, so Leila, what's your take?
My take is that we're looking at this entire discussion from the wrong angle, and that's exactly what is so problematic in society. First of all, even if we want to speak on what Chimamanda said, which I even think is so irrelevant, and the fact that it's blown up to the extent that it has is actually a problem, it's an issue for me because I can't say I'm a feminist if I don't look at intersectionality. We need to look at the way society is set up. You cannot say you're a feminist if you don't stand against racism, if you don't stand against xenophobia, if you don't stand against classism, and every other intersectional system of oppression that exists today. What Chimamanda was saying in that video was saying that if you are opening the door for me as a woman based on chivalry, then I have a problem. If you are opening the door for me as a woman because it's a nice thing to do and it's a gesture you've been taught with home training, then I approve of it. And at the end of the day, that's the way that I see it. I want a man to open the door for me. It's a nice thing to do. My mother raised my brother to open the door when he sees women. But my mother always also raised me to know that I can open the door for whoever. Don't just say, oh, he's a man. He can
As much as I agree with you, Leila, as much as I agree with you, I'd also like to say that personally, I don't have a problem with chivalry. I don't have a problem with going out and a man opens the car door for me. I'd absolutely love that. I'd love to be treated like a lady. And if that is the definition of what makes women weak, by all means, then I'm weak. And
but wouldn't you prefer that it was done to you because it's a nice gesture to do than it was done to you because the man thinks you can't do it for yourself? I would not be going out with you, Leila, and I would open the car door for you. Well, of course not. But I'm saying
if a man is going out with me, he should open the car door for me. I won't judge him if he doesn't. But if he does, I'd really appreciate it. I think it makes me feel really special.
I think if you're looking at the mentality of it, then that's what we need to be teaching people. We need to be highlighting that this is about the mentality. This is about, are you looking down at me as a woman, or are you looking at me for the sake of, are you just looking at me with the kindness the way you were brought up? So I think the problem is the way she passed on her message. Given the platform that she's given, we need to make sure the message is being passed right, and so that she's understanding that I'm talking about the way you're looking at human beings. Are you looking at me at a level of equality, or are you looking down at me and thinking I'm incapable?
All right, these conversations is not something we can continue here. We definitely would have a part 2 of this conversation where we look at it from the angle of, feminism on the home front, who should do the cooking. We hear all those arguments these days of, oh no, either the man or the woman should cook. I personally, in fact, I won't go into that now, but we'll have this conversation again. Adeolu, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
You're having your own show. This time around, you're focusing on men. Hopefully they won't come for you and tell you that you're being patriarchal by doing that. Tell us about your show.
So Shop Talk is a men's talk show. The idea of it, so the first season we focused a lot on, it did focus a lot on relationships. This season now we're focusing a lot on the issues that I think it's about getting men to open up about real issues that men don't usually talk about. So we can help teach moral values to men and help build men up to get to a position where they need to do and have the influence in the country that they should be having. This season we're focusing a lot on issues that go on in Nigeria, talking from age discrimination, women in leadership, talking about a whole range of things, mental and emotional health, so that we can focus on issues that we have in this country that we've not targeted, we've not talked about, we've not focused on improving, so that the state of this country improves.
All right, so who are the people who are the categories?
So I've got a lot of guests. I've got Fela Durotoye, my dad, Pastor Wale Adefarasin, Links is back, Ebuka. We have a lot of interesting guests, Dr. Foy, Pastor Godman. So the whole idea with this season is 3 generations. We're talking about men from a wide generational spread, so that we are able to talk, not just focus on young men, but also on understanding the values and understanding the wisdom that comes from different generations and how we can help one another.
Okay, that sounds absolutely brilliant. So if people want to find out more information about the event, etc., how can they contact you?
So there's a launch this Sunday. Shop Talk can be reached either by following me on social media, Adeolu.Adefarasin, or Shop Talk NG, which is where the show comes out. The first episode comes out next Friday. It comes out on YouTube, on the Shop Talk NG on YouTube, 12 p.m. every Friday.
12 p.m. every Friday it drops.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Adeolu Adefarasin and the likes of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen who will be coming together to talk about issues that affect us. I'm looking forward to see what the show is about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Here.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love her.